How do you stop 100 drones attacking simultaneously from different directions? What happens when the cost to intercept a single drone exceeds the cost of the drone itself by 300 times? In December 2025, China flew the largest drone carrier ever built. 16 tons of aircraft designed for one purpose, deploying swarms of over 100 autonomous weapons that coordinate their attacks using artificial intelligence. Deputy Defense Secretary Kathleen Hicks put it bluntly. She said, "We will counter the PLA's mass with mass of our own." But here is the problem nobody wants to discuss openly. China has allegedly invested close to $1 billion perfecting a technology that costs almost nothing to deploy, while Western nations spend billions defending against it with missiles that cost millions of dollars each. This is the story of how simple mathematics might reshape modern warfare. Before we get into this, consider subscribing if military technology interests you. A like helps push this to more viewers. Now let's break this down. On December 11th, 2025, a 16-ton aircraft completed its maiden flight over Shanxi province in central China. The Jiutian, which translates roughly to 9 heavens, is not a fighter jet or a traditional bomber. It is something entirely new. The Jiutian is a mothership drone designed to carry and deploy between 100 and 150 smaller drones, each one a loitering munition capable of seeking out and destroying targets autonomously. With a wingspan of 25 meters and a range of 7,000 kilometers, a single Jiutian can reach Guam from mainland China, deploy its payload, and return home. Defense analysts estimate the Jiutian program alone cost approximately $500 million. When combined with years of swarm coordination research by China Electronics Technology Group Corporation, loitering munition development by China, Aerospace Science and Industry Corporation, and the supporting testing infrastructure, the total investment likely approaches $1 billion. But that number only tells part of the story. The real significance lies in what happens after deployment. Each of those 100 drones operates using artificial intelligence coordination systems. They communicate through mesh networks that remain functional even when individual units are destroyed. They can autonomously change formations, fuse sensor data in real time, and redistribute attack responsibilities when members of the swarm are eliminated. A PLA Air Force senior colonel described recent tests as a very important step toward the PLA having true swarm capabilities. The question hanging over Western defense planners is uncomfortable. How do you defend against something like this? Traditional air defense systems were designed to track and intercept perhaps a dozen targets simultaneously. Radar operators train for scenarios involving aircraft approaching from known vectors at predictable speeds. The entire architecture of modern air defense assumes targets are expensive, limited in number, and worth the cost of interception. Drone swarms violate those traditional assumptions. When China's 14th five-year plan declared in March 2021 that future wars will be uncrewed and intelligent, Western analysts took notice. What followed was an acceleration of testing and development that has fundamentally altered the strategic balance in the Pacific. To understand why this matters, we need to examine what makes drone swarms so difficult to counter. The mathematics of drone warfare create what defense analysts call the cost asymmetry problem. Understanding this equation reveals why traditional defense strategies may be fundamentally broken. A Patriot PAC-3 missile costs approximately $4.2 million per shot. The SM-6, used by the Navy for air defense, costs between $3.9 and $4.3 million. These are the primary weapons Western forces use to intercept aerial threats. A Chinese loitering munition similar to the American Switchblade costs approximately $13,000. Smaller swarm drones can cost between $1,000 and $5,000 each. Undersecretary William LaPlante, who oversees Pentagon acquisitions, stated the problem clearly at a CSIS event in May 2024. If we are shooting down a $50,000 one-way drone with a $3 million missile, that is not a good cost equation. The technology is changing every couple of weeks, and the tactics are changing, and it is going to be a constant fight. The math becomes stark when applied to real scenarios. Intercepting a 100-drone swarm using Patriot missiles would theoretically cost $420 million. The swarm itself might cost between $1 and $5 million to produce. An attacker could send 20 swarms for the cost of defending against one. This is not theoretical. Since November 2023, the United States Navy has fired over 200 missiles in Red Sea operations against Houthi drones and missiles. The estimated cost runs into hundreds of millions of dollars. The drones being intercepted cost a fraction of that amount. The Houthi attacks, while significant, involve relatively simple drones launched in small numbers compared to what China is developing. When CETC tested a launcher capable of deploying 200 drones in May 2021, they demonstrated that future attacks could involve numbers that overwhelm not just the mathematics, but the physical capacity of defensive systems. Traditional radar systems face saturation when confronted with dozens of simultaneous targets approaching from multiple vectors. Human operators experience cognitive overload trying to prioritize threats. Decision-making slows precisely when speed matters most. This is the designed intent of swarm warfare, not to destroy defenses through superior firepower, but to exhaust them through sheer volume. The Center for a New American Security published a report in September 2025 titled "Countering the Swarm" that delivered a sobering assessment. It warned that without deep magazines of substantially enhanced counter-drone capabilities, the United States risks having its distributed warfighting strategies overwhelmed by massed Chinese drone attacks, and the United States could lose a war over Taiwan. That conclusion might seem alarmist until you examine the scale of Chinese production. Poly Technologies, a Chinese defense contractor, holds a contract for almost 1 million loitering munitions for the Chinese government. The PLA is developing over 50 drone types, with a total fleet estimated in the tens of thousands. The question becomes, if traditional interception is economically unsustainable, what alternatives exist? Understanding why drone swarms pose such a challenge requires examining the artificial intelligence systems that coordinate their behavior. Traditional military operations rely on centralized command structures. Orders flow from commanders to units, and units report back through established chains. Disrupting communications can paralyze entire formations. Swarm intelligence operates on fundamentally different principles. There is no central commander, no single point of failure. Collective behavior emerges from individual drones following relatively simple rules while sharing information across mesh networks. Each drone in a Chinese swarm can communicate with its neighbors, sharing sensor data about targets, threats, and terrain. If one drone is destroyed, others automatically redistribute its responsibilities. If communications with ground control are jammed, the swarm continues operating based on pre-programmed objectives and real-time coordination among surviving units. CETC engineer Zhao Yanji explained after the landmark 2017 test of 119 drones that since drones were invented in 1917, intelligent swarms have become a disruptive force to change the rules of the game. The capabilities demonstrated in recent tests include autonomous formation changes that adapt to defensive fire, real-time sensor fusion that combines data from multiple drones to build comprehensive target pictures, predictive algorithms that anticipate enemy movement, and self-healing protocols that maintain swarm effectiveness even as individual units are eliminated. Navigation presents another challenge for defenders. Chinese swarms utilize multiple satellite constellations including GPS, GLONASS, Beidou, and Galileo. The system is jammed, and other platforms provide backup. Inertial navigation systems offer a final fallback that requires no external signals at all. Some drones within a swarm are designated for electronic warfare rather than direct attack. These units jam enemy communications and radar while their companions close on targets. Defenders face the challenge of determining which drones pose immediate threats and which are support assets. That decision must be made in seconds, while dozens of contacts approach simultaneously. Jiutian Mothership adds another layer of complexity. Operating at altitudes above 15,000 meters, it can deploy its payload from positions that many shorter-range air defense systems cannot reach. Its 12-hour endurance and 7,000-kilometer range mean it can approach from unexpected vectors, complicate defensive planning, and redeploy to different sectors as situations evolve. Chinese state television has broadcast demonstrations of single operators controlling 200 drone swarms. The imagery is designed to communicate capability to potential adversaries. This technology exists, it works, and China possesses it in quantity. Pentagon assessments have taken notice. The December 2024 China Military Power Report stated that China's drone modernization is close to matching U.S. standards, with substantial development efforts to produce swarming capability for operational applications. The question observers ask is no longer whether China can deploy effective drone swarms, but how Western forces will respond when they do. Since you have made it this far, you are clearly interested in how military technology is evolving. Consider subscribing and leaving a like. It genuinely helps the channel reach more people interested in these topics. Now let's continue. Recognizing the threat, Western nations have launched programs to counter drone swarms. The results so far reveal both promise and significant gaps. In August 2023, Deputy Defense Secretary Kathleen Hicks announced the Replicator initiative with ambitious language. She said, "We will counter the People's Liberation Army's mass with mass of our own, but ours will be harder to plan for, harder to hit, and harder to beat." Congress allocated $1 billion for fiscal years 2024 and 2025. The goal was fielding multiple thousands of autonomous systems to match Chinese production. By August 2025, the program had delivered hundreds rather than thousands. Selected systems include the AeroVironment Switchblade 600, Anduril Altius 600, and Anduril Ghost X. These represent capable platforms, but the scale remains far below what planners originally envisioned. Directed energy weapons offer a potential solution to the cost equation. The United Kingdom's Dragonfire laser costs approximately £10 per shot compared to £1 million for a Sea Viper missile. A contract worth £316 million was awarded in November 2025 for deployment on Type 45 destroyers by 2027. The United States Army received 4 Epirus Leonidas high-power microwave systems under a $66 million contract, with delivery completed in March 2024. These systems can disable drone electronics without requiring a direct hit on each target. However, directed energy weapons have limitations. Lasers require time to burn through targets and struggle in poor weather conditions. Microwave systems have limited range compared to missiles. Neither technology has been tested against the scale of swarms China is preparing to deploy. Admiral Sam Paparo, commander of Indo-Pacific Command, offered a realistic assessment in December 2025. He said the commoditization of drones has made assault more costly. In some spaces, you do not need to fight for air or maritime superiority. All you need do is deny it to another. That statement captures the strategic shift underway. Traditional concepts of air superiority may become obsolete when defending airspace costs more than any reasonable military budget can sustain. Taiwan, the most likely target of Chinese drone operations, has adopted what analysts call the Porcupine strategy. Rather than matching Chinese capabilities symmetrically, Taiwan focuses on asymmetric defenses. In August 2025, Taipei approved procurement of over 1,300 uncrewed surface vessels. Approximately 1,000 suicide drones were purchased from the United States in 2024. The strategy accepts that Taiwan cannot achieve air superiority against Chinese forces. Instead, it aims to make any invasion so costly that Beijing calculates the price as unacceptable. Whether this approach can succeed against the scale of Chinese drone production remains the central question for Pacific security. China is simultaneously developing offensive swarm capabilities and defensive systems like LW-30 and LW-60 lasers, positioning itself on both sides of the drone equation. While Chinese drone swarms have not seen combat deployment, Chinese manufactured drones have accumulated extensive operational experience through export customers. Between 2013 and 2023, China delivered 282 combat drones to 17 countries, according to SWINE-PRI data. During the same period, the United States delivered 12. Chinese drones cost between 1/4 and 1/2 of American equivalents, and they come without political conditions attached to their sale. The Winglung series and CH Rainbow drones have seen combat in Iraq against ISIS forces, in Libya during the civil war, in Yemen as part of Saudi coalition operations, in Nigeria against Boko Haram, and in Ethiopia where Winglung strikes helped halt the Tigrayan advance on Addis Ababa in 2021. Operators have reported high success rates. Iraqi forces claimed nearly 100% success with CH series drones against ISIS targets. While such claims warrant skepticism, the volume of repeat purchases suggests genuine effectiveness. The African market demonstrates particularly rapid growth. Drone strikes on the continent increased from 31 in 2020 to 484 in 2024, representing a 1,560% increase over 4 years. Chinese manufacturers have captured the majority of this expanding market. Pakistan signed a deal in May 2024 for 10 CH-4 drones valued at $24 million. Serbia became the first European buyer in June 2020, purchasing CH-92A systems for $19.3 million. Saudi Arabia agreed in 2017 to purchase 300 drones and establish local manufacturing facilities. Combat experience feeds back into development. Each operational deployment provides data on performance, reliability, and tactics that informs the next generation of systems. Chinese manufacturers have accumulated far more real-world testing than their American competitors in the medium-altitude armed drone category. Swarm technology has not been exported. This capability appears reserved for PLA use, though existing customer relationships position China well for future sales should policy change. Saudi Arabia, the UAE, and Pakistan combine established purchasing relationships with the financial resources to afford advanced systems. The Ukraine conflict has added another dimension to Chinese drone influence. Per Ukrainian intelligence chief Oleh Ivashchenko, 80% of critical electronic components in Russian drones are of Chinese origin as of early 2025. China officially banned long-range drone exports to both warring parties in June 2023 and expanded component restrictions in September 2024. Enforcement appears limited. DJI commercial drones manufactured in Shenzhen appear on both sides of the Ukrainian front lines. Over 50% of drones identified on the battlefield carry DJI branding. The Pentagon designated DJI a Chinese military company in 2022, a classification upheld by federal court in October 2025. Chinese drone technology, whether purpose-built for combat or adapted from commercial platforms, has become globally ubiquitous. The picture that emerges from these developments challenges assumptions that have guided Western defense planning for decades. China has invested close to $1 billion developing drone swarm capabilities. The Jiutian Mothership can deploy over 100 loitering munitions from ranges exceeding 7,000 kilometers. AI coordination allows these swarms to operate without centralized control, adapting to defensive fire and redistributing tasks as units are destroyed. Traditional interceptors cost millions per shot against drones costing thousands. The mathematics favor the attacker by ratios that no defense budget can sustain indefinitely. American Replicator efforts have produced hundreds of systems when thousands were promised. Directed energy weapons show promise but remain unproven at scale. Meanwhile, Chinese production continues accelerating. Contracts for nearly 1 million loitering munitions suggest industrial capacity Western observers struggle to match. Over 50 drone types are in development with fleet sizes potentially 10 times larger than combined American and Taiwanese inventories. Xi Jinping declared in 2020 that drones are profoundly changing war scenarios. The 14th five-year plan stated that future wars will be uncrewed and intelligent. These were not aspirational statements, but descriptions of ongoing policy. The CNAS assessment deserves repetition. The United States could lose a war over Taiwan if counter-drone capabilities are not substantially enhanced. Perhaps the most revealing detail comes from the Jiutian program itself. 4 aircraft were assembled within 18 months of development beginning. The maiden flight occurred in December 2025. China is not merely researching this technology, but actively deploying it. The strategic balance in the Pacific has shifted. The question is whether Western nations recognize the magnitude of that shift before it is tested in actual conflict. In June 2017, CETC launched 119 drones in coordinated flight, breaking the American record of 103. By December 2025, 16-ton motherships were deploying swarms of 150, 8 years of development, nearly $1 billion in investment, thousands of combat drones exported to 17 nations, production contracts approaching 1 million units. The trajectory is unmistakable. Admiral Paparo suggested that future conflicts may not require achieving air superiority, only denying it to adversaries. If accurate, decades of Western defense doctrine built around expensive precision platforms face a fundamental challenge from cheap autonomous systems launched in overwhelming numbers. China understood this mathematics early. The investment reflects that understanding. What remains uncertain is whether Western responses will match the scale and speed of the threat. The drones are built. The swarms are tested. The question now is what happens next. If this breakdown gave you a clearer picture of how drone technology is reshaping military strategy, subscribing would mean a lot. Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I read every single one. Thank you for watching.